One of the last roles I had was as a salesperson trying to sell printers, trying to sell the stuff that you print all your invoices on and receipts on in your office. And my job was to go door to door into businesses and be that guy that would go in and give you a brochure, try and get you interested in our brand. You've all had this experience where a salesman comes in and you're busy doing your work and they give you a brochure. Where does that brochure usually end up? In the bin, yeah. So there's a statistic though. The reason that that person comes in is because they know that if they go into 80 different businesses that day, there's probably 2 that need a printer because it just broke or their contract's expiring. And they're just trying to find the 2 people. But for me, as a showman, I'm like, what about that other 78 businesses, those 78 receptionists that have to see me and go through that whole autopilot thing? So what I did was I decided to change that. I created this little idea, or I used this idea, and this is what I did. So I walked in the very next day after deciding to switch up what I was doing. I forget the business, but I always remember the lady's name was Sally. And I walked in, and just like a normal Monday, her eyes start to glaze over because she sees me coming in. I give her the brochure, and before I leave, I say, oh, by the way, Sally, did I put my business card on that brochure? And she says no, but she's about to say, in my best Sally voice, it's all right, we'll just Google you if we need you. Right. But instead, I stop her and I go, oh, Sally, it's okay. And we'll get up nice and tight on this. I take out my phone and I say, you know what, it's okay because I get to play with all the new technology that comes out in printing. So let me just print you a card instead. So I get up close and this starts to happen. And now she has a card digitally on my phone. Great. That gets a bit of curiosity. But then the final blow was to get really up close to Sally's face and then take it out. And I gave her that card. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So the first time that happened, it was ridiculous. My idea was that I would just have fun with everyone that day. So if nothing else, I'm just doing what I love, doing magic for every person. But what I didn't realize is the outcome of that. So the first thing that happened is she freaked out. She's like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. And I noticed when I started doing that all the time that there's typically 3 reactions doing that would get. Number 1 is Sally. They freak out like, that's really cool. The second one is, wow, I didn't know that technology was available now. Still cool. And then there's a small percentage that just had no souls. But, there's ebbs and flows. As you can imagine, sales increased because now, even if they didn't need a printer, they're still going to remember me. And every now and then, when I would give them the business card, they would go, oh my God, that was amazing. If I go and get my boss, can you do that? Can you give them a business card as well? They have to see this. And I'm like, have I just discovered a unicorn or something? Okay, so after doing that, what I realized, and what is very obvious now when you look back on it, is even if they didn't buy a printer, even if they weren't in the market, they were now super willing to talk to me, and I'd broken down their autopilot. I hadn't sold them a printer, but what I had sold them was myself. I'd sold them me. I'd given them a reason to now remember me. You best believe they kept my business card. And when I'd follow up the next day, they'd say, hey, that was cool. Let us know when you're coming down again. There were a few staff that didn't get to see what you did. Be cool. And now I can go back and see them again, even though they don't need a printer. So with all of that said, there's a quote that I love by a guy named Michael Porter that whenever I hear it, it makes me want to apply it to any business-related thing I'm doing or any show that I'm putting on. And he basically talks about trying to be the best. Like in your industry or in your area where your business is? Are you competing with all those around you to be the best? If you are, that's a really hard slog because only one person technically can be at that pinnacle point. But Michael Porter says this. Nothing. No, he says, don't compete to be the best, compete to be the most unique.